Cool. Pleasure to welcome to the podcast Patrick Jameison. Just wrapped up his freshman year, Duke University. Awesome freshman year. Patrick, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm pumped to be here.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. We're going to talk goalie for the next 45 minutes, 1 hour. I can't think of anything better, really. But really, I'd like to start by asking you, do you remember the story of you jumping into goal for the very first time?
I do not remember a specific memory. I just remember hearing my mom tell me it was because I didn't like to run, so that was kind of where I could be without having to run a whole lot. So
You're one of those. I was certainly that was a huge part of why I played goalie, was not wanting to run. I started playing midi and you're like, you're running in all the drills and you're like, I got this feeling like I'm gonna throw up every single practice. And then you jump into goal and you're like, this is nice. I can get used to this.
I know it's relaxing.
Right? Until the shots start getting fired at you, right? Um,
That's fair. Yes.
yeah. But did you at what age did you start?
When definitely when I was younger, probably fourth or fifth grade.
Okay. And coming out like you grew up in the Philadelphia area?
Yeah. So I've been here my whole life. I just went to boarding school for my senior year in Northern Virginia.
Okay, cool. Well, I want to touch on that. So what was it, do you think, about the goalie position, apart from the lack of running, that like initially like drew you in? Because certainly, the lack of running is great, but there's got to be something there that makes you stick with it.
Yeah. I just really like kind of being the last line of defense, being able to make saves if the defense does get beaten and starting the offense from the goalie.
Yeah. A lot of young kids feel a lot of pressure in the last line of defense, right? Because, if you don't make the save, it's a point on the scoreboard. What would you say to those young kids? Like you said, I really liked being the last line of defense because some kind of feel overwhelmed by that pressure. What would you say to those youngsters who feel that way?
You just have to have fun with it. Obviously, you got to kind of go into games knowing you're going to get scored on, and a couple of times you do get scored on. There it is. Oh, I should have saved that. But a lot of times, like, okay, I got scored on. Was a good shot. Next save. Got to kind of have that next play mentality.
Yeah. Yeah, just that next shot mentality. And then yeah, that understanding of I am gonna get scored on. So when it does happen, it's not this like, huge thing, right? It happens, we
Yes,
move on,
exactly.
reset and move on. Cool. Um, then how did you then, fourth, fifth grade, you start playing goalie. How did you go about kind of learning how to make saves? Was there some coaches or camps that you attended?
So I always every winter went to Net Nation, which was in like right outside of Philadelphia, which is ran by Brian Doherty.
Yep.
So that would be say 5 Sundays every winter, kind of leading right up to the spring season. And I did that every winter for up to I did all through high school until I was obviously at boarding school, but I started as early as I can remember, probably sixth grade maybe.
Nice. Yeah, Net Nations. And then so with Drew Adams and Austin Kaut as
Uh,
well.
yes, exactly.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. What were some things that like were some big ahas that you learned there right away?
The first thing, kind of what is always taught, is just kind of moving all in one motion. Hands and feet move together, and you're just being efficient, getting from point A to point B as quick as possible. I'd say
Yeah.
kind of that's the main teaching point, and that's kind of what we are at that nation emphasizes the most, which was very
Yeah.
helpful for me. Just kind of getting that base of how I'm moving my feet and doing it as efficient as possible. And then once I got that down, you can kind of build on every other aspect, whether that's getting better at high shots, low shots, wherever. Just really getting the motions of it down first.
Yeah, interesting. Would you say, and I think they called the flow system, right? The Philly
Yes,
flow
yes,
system. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Would you say it's just more of like a different way about thinking about the movement, or is there something that you're like specifically doing, I don't know, during your save movement that helps you go hands and feet together?
I wouldn't say there's anything specific that I'm thinking about or kind of having to do. I just think it's muscle memory at this point. I've been doing it for so long, it just kind of happens. And since that
Yeah.
was the way I was always taught, now it's just kind of almost automatic for me. If I'm making a save, I'm kind of just flowing through it.
Yeah. And then when you teach the youngsters, so it's not like, all right, shot comes, top hand goes straight to the ball, lead foot steps. Those are kind of like two steps. It's like go with those, go together, get your body behind it, that type of
Yes,
explanation.
exactly. Yes, so that's
Yeah.
like the big thing. I'm also training kids on the side. So what I'm kind of trying to teach is it's not your hand goes and then your foot goes. It's your hand and feet. They're moving at the same exact time, and then your back foot follows.
Yeah.
So everywhere it's like top hand's going off Sakai, your left foot's going with it. Top hand's going stick side out, your right hand's moving with it. Everything's kind of in the same motion.
Yeah, yeah. Love it. Anything else come to mind? The things that really stuck out that you learned right away with them?
Kind of just being patient and really fundamentally sound. I know there's some goalies kind of out there that are a little bit guessy, like see someone drop their hands, they drop low, stuff like that. For me,
Hmm.
it was just kind of always waiting till I see the ball, being locked in on the ball the whole time, right as it comes out of the shooter's stick, then reacting, kind of just reacting as soon as I see it. No pre-shot movement or anything like that.
Yeah, that patience one is so big. It's so huge. I remember I was shooting like goalies on the sideline during one game, and I had like the camera with like the sports lens so I could zoom like super far in. And like just zooming in on the goalie, and you could always tell when the shot was coming because this goalie would like, he's in his stance, he's moving around, he looks set, and then the shot's about ready to come, and he gets all jittery and like kind of even like shrinks the knees in together. And so
Yes,
being able to avoid that is a huge thing. And it's tough, right? It's tough because when someone's winding up at you, your natural instinct is to do that. And so how did you overcome that?
Um, similar to what I said earlier, I think it's just all a muscle memory thing.
Yeah.
You're not one day gonna wake up and go into your backyard and get shots, and this should be automatically fixed. It's gonna be something you have to drill every day or every week over time, and it'll just continue to evolve as you keep going.
Yeah. And there's probably still even reps today, like at Duke, that like, where it happens, right? And
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, it still happens to the best of them out there. And so yeah, it is muscle memory. And so we're just trying to get the best muscle memory we can and have the best percentage of reps that we can, right?
Yes, exactly. And I'm still nowhere near mastered it. Obviously, like you said in practice, if someone's got a 10 or 12 yard step down hands free winding up, you're kind of locking up a little bit.
Right.
So it's obviously something that's still trying to get better every day.
Yeah, yeah. Love it. What would you say is your favorite part about the goalie?
Um, I would say my favorite part is just kind of being able to make saves for my defenders if they were to get beat because there's a lot of times where they bail me out in a game if someone's about to shoot, they have a back check or something like that, and they
Mm.
take the ball away a ton of times a game, play really good defense. So I kind of just like being able to get it back to them by being able to come with a big come up with a big save.
That is a good feeling, right? That is a good feeling,
Very.
especially when they get like absolutely juked, like they get the ankles broken, and you can make that save, help prevent them
Yes.
from going viral, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about on the other end, least favorite part about being the lacrosse goalie?
Um, Least favorite part, I would say, kind of. There's a couple of times where it's just there's a day or two, whether it's in practice or in a game, where I kind of just feel like every kid on the offense has my number.
Mm,
Just an off day. I always dislike those. It's like almost like a feeling of helplessness in that where you're kind of trying your best, but everything kind of just seems to fall.
yeah, interesting. And we've all gone through those. And they get tricky when like there's two or three of them in a row, right? Because then you're like, wow,
Yes,
like now what's going on, right? Like yesterday was a bad
yes.
day, now it's a bad day. How do you how do you break out of a slump? Or have you been in one and like talk to me how you got
Um,
through it?
yeah. So it's just I think all about kind of just whether you have a even if it's just a bad goal that goes in, you just gotta be like, all right, next save. And then even if it's a bad day of practice, you're like, all right, today's done. I'm in the locker room, we're finished. Now I just need to bring it tomorrow. I kind of just think it's the mindset of just uh, erasing it from your memory right after it happens, and then focusing on the next thing, whether it's the next practice, next shot, stuff like that. And
Yeah.
obviously, it can be tough mentally when you're having a couple bad days in a row, but it's just showing up to work every day and trying to be your best.
Yeah, it's
Other,
tough
other,
when it is tough, right? And it is tough when you got two or three practices in a row and you start getting in your own head about like, and doubting your abilities. But yeah, I mean, you're putting in the work and you just got to flush it and kind of get back out there. That's the cool thing about being a goalie too, and sports in general for that matter, is that the next day is an opportunity to get better. The next day is an opportunity to get out of that slump, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Awesome. Um, cool. And then so you grew up in the Philly area and you play kind of club lacrosse, brotherly love.
Yes.
Talk to me about that club program and kind of your experience playing there.
It was awesome. So my 2023s, we were the oldest age group. Um, so that was kind of always cool being the oldest guys of the program since it was a relatively newer club in the Philadelphia area. And then we just had a ton of great guys on our team. Our team was really good, but even just hanging out in practice after games, it was always fun to be around those guys. And then we had a great coaching staff as well.
So you were the very first, like you started the program. I mean, you guys were the first team to start with that program then?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And so if there's somebody, a goalie who's thinking about like selecting a club, what goes into that choice? Why did you choose Brotherly Love versus like the other programs that might have been available?
Um, so I played for Mesa first up until ninth grade, maybe, and then I switched to Brotherly Love for ninth, 10th, and 11th grade. I kind of just think you got to kind of feel it out a little bit. You got to find the right fit. Um, Obviously, at some clubs they take it more serious than others, whereas sometimes you're going to be on a team who kids are kind of just playing just to play. um, just kind of go out there and have fun, which I obviously am big for having fun, but I always really wanted to win and play with other kids who wanted to win.
Yeah.
So I kind of think you need to find a team and the coaching staff where you can surround yourself with what you want. With that, whether that be if you do want to have fun, you can go find a team where kids are just kind of out there running around to have fun, or be a team where you're competing in the top tournaments, looking to win every game.
Good point. Good point, right? Because there are a lot of young goalies, young athletes who like do fall into that. Like, hey, I'm probably not going to play college lacrosse. I just want to have fun, enjoy myself, be outside, get in shape, and that's great, right? But know what you want.
Yes.
If you do want that higher level of competition, then yeah, that's a good point. And did you guys have like goalie coaches that helped work with you?
Yes, we did. So Drew Adams worked with our program up until maybe my sophomore year or junior year. So
Yeah,
in our practices, he'd be there a lot in the like fall and winter training. So I'd always work with him. So that was a big help.
I love it. Drew Adams. Yeah, one of the best pros to ever do it, right? I mean, he had like
Yes, definitely.
14 seasons. He might is he the all-time save leader? He might be up there with
I was just
with
saying, I think he's either first or second.
yeah.
Definitely top five.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna say definitely top three, maybe even top two.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. So anything specific from him that you learned, or was it, was it kind of just an extension of working with Net Nation?
I was gonna say basically just an extension of all the Net Nation stuff.
Yeah.
But he just and also kind of was able to see my game in a different way that I wasn't able to see it.
Oh.
He could tell me, all right, like you're doing this well, but need to work on this, stuff like that, and
Well,
just
like
his
for example, what would that be?
um, that could be like, say you're moving really well to anything on your stick side. Your hands and feet are moving really well together, but you're off stick low. You're
Got
moving
it.
your hands before your feet. Just
Got it.
just just
Yeah,
for
yeah.
that as an example.
Yep. Got
And
it.
then just the amount of drills that he had knew a ton of drills for every different thing, so that was always helpful.
That is helpful. Yeah, that is cool. Like just hey, I'm struggling with this, and then he's like, "All right, here's a drill. Let's do that today."
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, awesome. Um, did you ever talk to him about the Maverick base goalie head?
I have not.
Have you seen that goalie head? You're pretty young, so I don't
I
even.
I have I have seen it. Yes, I've never used it though.
Okay. I just bought one. I just bought one. So I just checked it out, and I don't have it here with me, unfortunately. But it was the weirdest thing because it gets like so wide at the base, And I think he helped develop it,
Uh-huh.
but then I don't think it ended up not working out. So I was just curious. I'll have to ask him about that next time. Very cool. So then, at what point do you realize like, hey, I'm pretty good. Like I'd like to play Division 1 lacrosse. Is that pretty early on, or talk to me about that?
Um, so for me, I always kind of wanted to win, so I was always really super competitive, and I always had wanted to play college lacrosse. That was kind of always a goal of mine since growing up. So that
Hmm.
was kind of working towards, at least from the club level, you're working towards that end goal of being able to get committed and play in college. Um, and it was kind of a thing that I thought I knew I could do if I kept working. I could definitely achieve that.
Yeah.
Um, so that was kind of just like a reminder daily that I need to keep getting better if I want to go do that goal and play in college.
Yep. Love it. Love it. And then how did you get on Duke's radar and what was it about their program do you think that drew you to it?
That was just kind of one of the schools that I had you grow up, you're turning on a lacrosse game on a Saturday or 10 years old, and that's the game that's on. So I had just kind of always known of them, and that's ever since I started watching them when I was younger. That's kind of where I dreamt of going. So that was
Yeah.
just kind of as I continued to get older, it had what I was looking for, with obviously great lacrosse and great academics, kind of the perfect blend of everything that I was interested in.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a great school. I applied there when I was a senior in high school, but just on academic merits, and I was not worthy. They did not want me. It's tough. It's very tough to get in, right? And
It is, yes,
you know, that's the beauty about lacrosse is that I'm sure you're strong academically as well, but it is that like extra oomph that can help you get admitted to great universities.
yes, 100%.
Yeah. Um, very cool. And did you I think like some rankings came out and you were one of like the higher ranked goalies of your class, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Does that, when that ranking comes out, it's got to feel good, but some goalies can feel a little bit of pressure now. Like you get scored on and they're like, oh, you're the number one ranked goalie. You know what I mean? And that you can kind of feel a little bit of that pressure. Did that happen to you? Talk to me about that.
I mean, not really.
Okay.
Kind of, I never really looked too deep into those things because you could have one of the evaluators or whatever watch one of your club games or don't have a great game and then not watch you the whole rest of the summer. They're like, oh, this kid's not good because I saw him play bad one game. I just
Right.
kind of think that. I mean, they obviously are like pretty good rankings, but I just don't really think it means a whole lot. Obviously one game can't really determine how good you are at your ranking. So I kind of never really looked too deeply in that. I mean, it's cool to be kind of up there and like getting recognized, but this doesn't really mean a whole lot to me. It doesn't not going to make you play better, in my opinion, or doesn't determine how good you really are. So I kind of just would look at it, be kind of cool, whatever, and then move on from it.
That's smart. That's smart. Yeah, very smart. Did you interact with Coach Alex Reddy kind of in the recruiting process, or when did you, or only when you got to Duke did you start working with him?
So when I first got recruited and committed to Duke, that was my junior year in 2021. So they had no goalie coach at the time. So
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
my senior year was Coach Reddy's first year.
got it. Yeah.
Um, so we were kind of in touch a little bit. Nothing on a. He obviously was focusing on the goalies at school, so it wasn't really anything too deep. Kind of just getting to know each other.
Yeah.
And then over the summer, I had sent him some film from high school and stuff like that, just so he could kind of have a plan ready for when we
Nice.
got onto campus of what I should be working on.
Yeah.
And then obviously once I got onto campus, he was kind of the guy I would work with every day.
Yeah. What was that plan? Because a lot of goalies email me the question about like, hey, I'm moving up in level, and whether that be like, high school, more like junior high to high school is kind of the age grade that they usually emails me, but it could be from high school to college as well. But the question is, what can I do to get ready for that next level of competition? So you can answer that question, or I mean, share your specific plan if you want.
So for me, the first kind of say 2 weeks, give or take, a little more, a little less, was just kind of getting adjusted to the speed of everything.
Yeah.
And that's the same as you're going from eighth grade to high school and then high school to college. Everything is just that much quicker. Ball movement, shot speed, and as in high school where it was like the teams I was playing, they had two kids that could shoot really well, and then you're going to college where every single kid on your roster can shoot really well. It was just kind of getting adjusted to that, um, which was obviously way different than anything I was used to, but it wasn't anything too difficult. It was just kind of an adjustment period.
Yeah.
So that is kind of what I say the biggest pieces in going from middle school to high school and then high school to
Mm-hmm.
college,
Mm-hmm.
which is something that is gonna you can work on it on your own. Like I could last summer I could have gone out to the field with kids that played it in college, but I think it's just kind of gonna come once you are actually in practice. You're going through everything live, and then
Yeah.
it will take some time. And that's everyone, no matter how good you are. Some shorter than others, but everyone's gonna have to adjust at some point.
Yeah. And you're right. Yeah. I mean, there is an adjustment period and getting shots from the kid that shoots the best in your on your team or even in your town, right? I've even recommended goalies, if they don't have like a good shooter to look up like local colleges and then just see the roster and then like look at those kids on Instagram and like DM them and say, "Hey, can you come shoot on me?" And like a lot of people have had success with that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Um, Very cool. What about the mental game? Is that something that I mean, you got to have great mental game to perform well at the top levels of college lacrosse. So I imagine it's something that you spent a little time thinking about. But what are some mental game lessons that really have stuck with you?
I would probably say this year it was kind of there were obviously some games where I didn't perform my best. So obviously it was kind of tough in the game. Like I said earlier, kind of one of the days you feel like you can't save a whole lot. So I think the biggest thing for me was kind of whatever happens, win or loss. Take some if the game's on Saturday, take some time Sunday to think about it. Watch the film from the game, talk to the coaches about it, whatever. And then right as Monday starts, it's Monday, you're preparing for your game for the next weekend. And that's kind of what I think the biggest part mentally is. Obviously, you're going to have a bad game here and there. It's just kind of all about how you respond and trying not to let yourself get in the slump. You just need to show up Monday, whatever you have to work on, dial that in, and then just be ready to perform on whatever that your next game is.
Yeah, that's a huge lesson, right? I mean, it's kind of a form of the next shot mentality is that just being able to move on, right? And
Yes,
being okay with that I don't know, call it failure, that little mini failure, whether that be giving up a goal or having a bad game, and being okay with that, right? And then just moving on and not having that in your head. Um,
yes,
so yeah,
and then
awesome.
that's obviously the same as even for club tournaments where you're playing 3 games in a day. You start off your day with a bad game, then you kind of that's kind of a good thing. You're like, okay, now I've got a game in an hour to redeem myself and play better. Or in high school where it's like got a game on a Tuesday, you play bad, you get a practice Wednesday, then another game on Thursday to redeem yourself again.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of in every level of play, you're going to be able to have that chance to make up for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the things I recommend if you don't have that opportunity to make up for it right away, because like you said, if you're playing a tournament and you got a game at noon and then your next game's at 3, like it's right, you're right into it right away. If you don't
Yes.
have that opportunity, I would say get back out there and do something, like take some shots or hit the wall or I don't know, jump rope or do something because the mind is a tricky thing where like you can sit and brew with that negative game in your head, but if you get back out there and do something, then the last thought in my head is like how hard I'm working. It's not the bad game I just had.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
So very cool. And then so you get to campus and then what does your game change at all? I mean, you got to get used to the speed, right? But like are you playing deeper in the goal? Your stance wider or any sort of adjustments that you made to your goalie game?
So for the most part, everything was relatively the same. There are little tweaks here and there. Like you said, my stance was widened out a little bit. But other than that, really everything was kind of pretty similar.
Yeah.
For when I first got there, the only really thing was just feet a little bit wider.
Okay. And then anything that like Coach Reddy taught you that you want to share that would help other goalies, you think, young goalies?
So I would definitely say just because this year, from what I worked on, was a whole lot of low shots.
Mm,
Just because that was kind of the area of my game that needed the most work. And from looking at the games, it's kind of where I was getting scored on the most. So that was huge having him for that being able to go through film on a Sunday or whenever the day 2 days after a game, and then being able to go out to the field and practice and have him give me drills, tell me how what I'm doing wrong, how to fix that. So that was very helpful.
yeah. Do you think that's what would you say to a young goalie who's having trouble with low shots, for example? How would you do? I mean, what sort of recipe would you give them to help fix it? Is it the same?
Um, so I kind of think it. you need to kind of first figure out what it is that's going wrong, whether it's you're not stepping or you just kind of got to figure out the problem, why the shots are going in,
Hmm.
and then from there you kind of just whatever. There's obviously a ton of different things it can be, and then you've got to try and figure that out of how to fix that.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing first is recognizing, okay, I'm not doing this, which is why they're going in. And I think that'll help a lot to figure out what to do to start making more saves.
Mm. So yeah, and then I mean, if you can, like get some tape, or you can even record
Yes.
yourself with the iPhone, and watch that, and frame by frame in slow motion, and just go through that checklist of like feet and hands moving together. Are my hands getting there? Am I getting my hips down to a
Yes,
lower
exactly.
level, right? And not reaching. I don't know, what else would you throw on that checklist?
I know for me, there were a couple times where my feet were here instead of stepping first out, kind of be an in then out.
Okay.
Which we drilled that, and then a couple times when I was getting low was for me it was more of a bend of my back going down and less of me bending my knees.
Yeah.
So that was another thing to kind of drill, keeping my chest square and then just bending my knees getting lower.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Now, do you use that like pre-shot little like kind of hop to like reset your weight?
I do not really normally. No.
Interesting. Okay. I know a lot of people are. And have you ever tried it?
I have, yes.
It just wasn't for you?
I think I used to do that. I think I've just kind of gotten a lot more patient as I've gotten like gone along. I mean,
Yeah.
there definitely are some times where I do need to do that if someone were to throw a fake and I kind of get off my line a little bit and I need to hop back into my stance.
Right.
But for the most part, I would say my feet are pretty still.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of
Nice.
trying to get more on the balls of my feet, balancing up, putting the weight on the balls of my feet a little.
Yeah. What do you do to train that patience?
That's a good question. I don't think it's anything specifically. I just kind of like similar to what we talked about earlier. The way I was coached coming up was just wait till you see the ball.
Hmm.
And I think I've done that so much to a certain point where that's I would say is my play style. I'm really patient.
Hmm.
Um, so that's just kind of as I am in practice, it's what all I'm thinking about is I'm waiting to see the ball to react. And trying not to have any pre-shot movements.
Yeah. And do you ever use any like verbal cues, like, I don't know, sit, 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 or like, saying something to yourself to help remind yourself to be patient, or no?
I did not know.
Yeah. 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 I know some goalies do, and that can be like a, just kind of a verbal reminder of like not to go too early. Because a lot of times you're right, like the shot's coming. I mean, especially when the dude can rip it, and you're like, all right, I gotta go so fast that like even before the shot's coming, you're starting to like and you see a lot of this
Yes,
like like dropping the hands and then trying to come back up and get it right, or stepping
yes,
right and
exactly.
going false step. So yeah, patience is key.
Yes, and one of the things that helped a lot this year, whether it would be in warm-ups with Coach Reddy, if he kind of saw that I was moving a little early, he had this drill, which was called the yes drill. So he'd be standing there anywhere kind of along an arc up top, and I'd have to be in my stance, and right as I see the ball come out of the stick before I make the save, I'd have to say yes.
Mm.
So that was a drill, just waiting on being patient and not moving. And obviously, you're saying yes when you see the ball, so waiting till you see the ball come out of the stick.
Yeah, love that. Um, not this last season, but the season before, I had a videographer film one of the Duke games, and he got like the warm up. And Coach Reddy was warming up uh the goalie, right? And then like he throws a fake in there. And so, that's another thing you can do to teach that patience, right? Because the ball hasn't come out yet. You shouldn't be moving, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's kind of funny. He would do that in practice with us. So this year we had six goalies, so we'd be playing knockout or something, rotating in each time. And he'll throw a fake in there kind of whenever. And if you bite on the fake, you got to take a lap. So that
Oh,
was always kind of a
nice.
fun part of that. Seeing who would bite on the fakes and see who wouldn't.
Yeah. That's funny. That's a lot of goalies. Um,
That is,
And
yes.
yeah, and you win the starting job. So which is pretty amazing. Especially given, the success that the team had last year. And oh man, I'm blanking on the goalie's name last year. Starter
Wilhelm.
Wilhelm. I had him on the podcast. He's a great guy. But
Yes,
it's
yes.
you guys reached the championship game, and it's kind of in my opinion, a foregone conclusion. Like, well, we reached there with this goalie. He's going to be the starter, and you end up earning the job. So, talk to me about, I guess your mindset going into it, and how you didn't let that get to you.
So we also had Griffin Rackhauer who transferred in from Princeton.
Oh yeah,
Um,
nice. Yeah.
so it was kind of going into when we first started practices, it wasn't really anything, nothing was really set in stone goalie wise.
Hmm.
So for the first kind of, honestly, for most of the fall and the winter, I would say it was kind of them two battling it out. And obviously, my kind of mindset was just since nothing's definite and it's September or October right now, the first game's not till February. I just need to keep showing up every day, making
Yeah.
plays, and then my name will be in that conversation. So
Yeah. And it was. Yeah.
yes,
And by the way, Alex Reddy just presented at this last lacrosse goalie summit that I did, and I asked him like, well, what was it like? I mean, because like judging goalie talent can, trying to select a starter can sometimes be like picking your NFL quarterback. It's not like this. It's not like it's some intangibles going on, and sometimes it's tough. And he just said,
yes,
Pat outplayed everyone in the scrimmages. And that was kind of it. So you had some good performances. And I guess that earned you the starting role. Yeah.
yes.
How do you, as a freshman, it can be sometimes challenging to be a leader because you don't have that seniority, right? And sometimes, I mean, I think the best teams have goalies who are leaders. So how did you, as a freshman, sort of, um, how did you be a leader?
I kind of think it's just first importantly getting comfortable with all the guys off the field, getting to connect with everyone on a deeper level that's outside of lacrosse. And I think that's a huge part of it. And
Yeah.
obviously that's still something we had Ty Carpenter and Kenny Brower, who are both tremendous leaders on the field this past year. And with losing them, so I'll need to step up a ton for next year, being that leader on defense. But I think it is just kind of understanding everyone on the defense, kind of understanding what makes them tick a little bit, and just being able to connect with them.
Right, because then you build up that trust, and they'll
Yes,
they'll listen to
exactly.
they'll listen to you a little bit more, right?
Yes,
You're not it's not like you're coming in day one on a club team and sort of barking people around, and they're like, who's this guy, right? They know who you
yes,
are on and off the field, and it gives you a little bit more confidence to speak up, put your opinion out there when you're talking team strategy and all that good stuff. Let them know what you
exactly.
see.
Yes.
So awesome. Um, Very cool. What's it like stopping a Brennan O'Neill shot? The people want to know.
Stuff. He shoots very fast. It's been a frequently asked question this summer. A lot of people ask me that, but um, so in the he was it didn't play off ball. He was hurt, and then in the spring, normally for when we're doing our main stuff in practice, it'll be the scout offense versus the starter guys on defense, and scout defense versus starter guys on offense. So in the
Okay.
spring, I didn't get to go against him a whole lot. But there would be sometimes at the beginning of practice when we do 4-on-4 drills with the whole team. So that was always kind of fun going against him. But I remember his first practice back was might have been for our parents' weekend, so all the parents were there, and I just remember he was maybe it was an unsettled drill, maybe a 2-on-1 or 3-on-2, and he had shot it, and it was just kind of like wow, I barely even saw the ball until it was in the back of the net.
One of the challenging things is it's so unique and the way, especially when he's on the run, or the way he like drops his hands like so low, right? But
Yes.
then from that, he can shoot both high and low. When you like as a goalie, like how you're trying to lock in on that release point. Are you like looking at the ball when it's like down there on the ground, or like how do you approach that for your vision?
I'm kind of trying to stay focused on the ball. Sometimes it's kind of tough because he protects his stick really well.
Hmm.
I think the most important thing was just kind of reading the release. When he brings his hands up, seeing if it's going straight and staying high or coming out kind of down and going low.
Yeah, yeah, and that's tough. It's tough, right?
Yeah, very.
It's what makes it so hard. Um, Awesome. Well, congrats on a great season. Your freshman year. I mean, a lot of great things to come. What would you say is the best game? If I was we're gonna take a look at one of the games. Does any game this season come to mind for you personally?
I would say statistically, probably Richmond. I think my best game, this also might be because it was one of my favorite games, but I would say the Virginia game.
Yeah. Just because you guys knocked them off? Because you,
Because we knocked them off, our defense played really well. I thought I played well.
yeah,
And it was just was our all our alumni were there. It was just basically sold out, 80 degrees on a Sunday. Kind
that's
of
fun.
couldn't be any better.
That sounds fun.
Very.
Yeah. They're probably giving him the business a little bit. It's fun to hear. So that's cool. Cool. Any other, I don't know, lessons or stories from the season that you want to share?
Hmm. I would say just the main takeaway from this year, if I were to give to other goalies, would just be if you looked at my stats, it was like not perfect every game. It's just kind of being able to once you get past a bad game, being able to start, all right, that game's over. Now it's the next game. I'm going to play well this game, and once you play well the next game, then there's no thought in your mind of 2 weeks ago when you played bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a theme of what we've been talking about. So that's awesome. And
Yes.
then going in now we're now in the summer after your freshman year. What where do you go from here? Like, are there specific things that you're working on? Is it just a matter of like keeping relatively fit and fine tuned to go back into it, or like I said, are there specific things you're working on?
So definitely lacrosse wise, just cleaning up, continuing to improve anywhere below my waist, and then just being able to get in great shape. So when I go back to school, I'll be ready for that, for all our running, lifting, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And then so kind of doing everything I can on my own now, and then really just being prepared for when we get back to school, when we're being coached up, and then being able to get as much better as I possibly can down there.
that's cool. Awesome. Well, wish you nothing but the best of luck in this upcoming season. I wanted to ask about Coach Danowski, like legendary coach. Is there something, kind of one of the lesson that he constantly preaches that you could share with us, or anything come to mind?
So one of the biggest things I would say from this year was kind of just he would always tell us, you guys have to be confident. Um, we just have to show up and play just for our whole team collectively, show up and play and everything will be fine. Do the things that the coaches are telling us. We do what they say to do in practice. And then we do that in the game, we'll be more than fine. And then he's just able to connect with all the kids, all the guys on our team on a personal level, which is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that kind of goes back to that conversation we had about, being a leader, right? And I mean, what more of a leader than the head coach, and that and
Yes,
to see him
exactly.
do it as well, right? Is he's getting to know the kids on and off, um, and kind of then you trust him a little bit more, right?
Yes,
All
exactly.
right.
And that's anything, whether that's personal, school wise, or lacrosse related. You could kind of you'd always have him in your corner, could go to him for anything, and he'd help you out with whatever it was.
That's cool. That's cool. Awesome. Well, I know you're coaching youth or with your old club, yeah, this summer. Um,
Yes,
Talk to me a little bit about that.
that's been a ton of fun. It's been nice to kind of get a short stick in my hand a little bit and shoot on these goalies, and just kind of, like I said earlier, see the game kind of from a perspective that the kids I'm coaching can't, just because at least that's how I felt when I was getting coached by Coach Reddy. So
Yeah.
it's been kind of cool to be on the other side of it. Um, and just kind of being there for the kids, whatever, if they have any questions about anything lacrosse related, and then just trying to help them get them as much better as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it's interesting that I think all lacrosse goalies who are currently playing should absolutely coach right now. Because in order to like explain something to somebody, you have to like know it at like a much deeper level than just actually doing it because you got to explain it, right?
Yes,
And so it improves your own game tremendously,
it does.
right? Yeah.
So yeah, so it is really interesting seeing stuff from the sidelines or when I'm shooting on a kid or in practice, just watching. So it is really cool to witness that as opposed to seeing it from standing in between the pipes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I realize that I have a horrible shot.
Yeah, I'm still working on mine.
You still working
So
on yours? All right. Well, you're a lot younger
yes.
than me, so I was like doing a clinic and we were doing like like goalie wars or like you just do one rep and then if you get scored on you're out and then you kind of like keep going to you get a winner.
Uh-huh.
And I couldn't score in these kids. I couldn't score. And so these are like, eighth graders, ninth grade, the youngsters. And so I'm like, all right, I got to move in a little bit and give myself a little more of an advantage. But yeah, it's funny. I'm a goalie, not a not a shooter.
Yeah, that's
There
the
you
same
go.
for me. So
There you
gotta
go.
keep getting better at it.
Yeah, I love it. Any common mistakes that you see with the youth?
I would say kind of the a big thing. I think a lot of younger guys when they hop in the net for whatever reason that may be, and they're never really coached. They're just kind of playing to try and make a save and not worrying about how they're making a save. So I think that's kind of the biggest thing. And
Hmm.
I think that's something you need to do when you first start playing because it's a lot easier when you're like for what I said when it was kind of when I first started playing goalie that I was getting coached. So that was the first step I was learning,
Yeah.
as opposed to if you're kind of doing it on your own, really just thinking about only making a save, not wondering how you're making a save, and then you get to eighth grade or so, and you're trying to be coached, and then you have to break all these habits you've been doing for two or 3 years or however long.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and especially when you're getting into high school, if you want to be recruited, you've got a couple like 2 years to do that. So it's kind of tough to break 2 years or so long habits.
Of habits. Yeah, because it is muscle memory, right? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, just the bad habit is sort of not understanding the fundamentals, like having no coaching. And so that's kind of what we're doing here with Lax Goalie Rat, and I know a lot of other goalie coaches online are doing the same. Just trying to get that knowledge out there. So what I'd recommend is I mean, there's a lot of free stuff out there. You can kind of learn the basics, and then kind of take that to the field and kind of hone it in, mold that ball of
yes,
clay. Right.
yes,
All right. Very cool. I think that's about it. What about your stick setup? I think you do Eclipse 3.
yes. Let's see. I don't have it in my room at the moment, but
Okay.
Eclipse 3 with Grizzly 1S and then an STX fiber shaft. Actually, I can grab the head. I've got the head
Yeah,
real
yeah.
quick that's
Yeah, go for
strung
it.
up. So this one's not broken in too much, and I haven't completely finished stringing it. But I normally for all this year I did I used paracord, so I got a royal blue paracord, white head,
Nice.
white strings. Did the same pattern all year, kind of just uh, going mostly ones down the whole side, and then this top string.
Yeah, nice. And you string your own heads?
I do, and then I've also had the sidewall jet. I string a couple of mine.
Ooh, shout out Lars. Yeah, that guy's
Yes,
awesome.
he is. He's
Um,
great.
yeah, you got a couple black hole devices over there.
I did.
And then I noticed, well, maybe you haven't put the shooters in yet, but you go with the ghost pocket, no shooters?
No, I do. I normally just this year I just had one shooter across.
Okay.
Maybe five rows down.
Yeah.
I used to have two in it, and then one day my senior year it kind of was raining a little bit, not throwing too well, so I took the shooter out, and I kind of liked the way it was thrown more.
Yeah.
So ever since then, just stuck with that. So just one shooter straight across.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of goalies ask me about what's the best shooter setup, and a lot of it's so personal, like in terms of the feel, because that's what a
Yes,
lot of it is like the that just that final feel of how it
ex
throws, right?
exactly. That's kind of you would look at for the most part every college goalie stick is at least somewhat different. Whether it's how the sidewalls are strung, top string, what type of mesh, and then shooting strings also. That's just I wouldn't say that's there's a right or wrong. It's just you need to experiment with it, see what you're able to help with rebound control,
Yeah,
and then able to throw a nice outlet pass. And I think you need to be able to find a mix of a shooting string where you can throw kind of a touch pass, throw a like a hard pass, and all different types of passes that you got to be able to comfortable throwing.
yeah. And Duke is like a Nike sponsored school, yeah? STX?
STX Nike, yes.
STX Nike, cool. So what do you remember what gloves you use?
I use the Surgeon Razors,
Oh, those new ones.
or yes, and
Yeah,
they had goalie gloves for that this year. So
right, 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 right. Do you like those?
I really like them. Yes,
Okay. I haven't used those, and a lot of goalies ask me about them. Have you ever had any issues with like thumb injuries?
I have never no. So
Yeah,
I'm kind of lucky enough to never have that. And since I haven't, I know there's some goalies who wear extra thumb protection, and since that's never really been a problem for me, I've never
yeah,
really kind of worried about it. So
yeah,
fingers crossed.
yeah. Fingers crossed, right? Because it is. I don't think like any goalie glove is like 100% perfect. Like I've heard of injuries in every single model of gloves, and a lot of it is just like does the shot hit you in that right spot at the right time? So a lot of it's just bad luck,
Exactly,
unfortunately.
exactly.
But yeah, I've heard good things about those new gloves. I'll have to check them out.
Yes,
And then you got the Shield 600 chest pad, the white one.
yes, I do.
Yeah, yeah, cool.
And this was my first year using that, just because we were in STX school, so I got that. So it took a little bit to break in,
Oh,
like a week or two, just kind of stiff, but I
yeah.
no complaints. So
What'd you use before?
I used the Maverick one, the
Oh,
Max, I
yeah,
think,
yeah,
the green and gray and white one.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But do you ultimately like the Shield 600 better?
I think so. Yes.
Okay, me too. Me too. Yeah. And then what about the cup? You go double cup system, ice hockey goalie cup. What are we working with there?
I just use a regular like shock doctor cuff.
Okay,
One of the
man,
one of the extra protection protected ones, but
risky
yeah,
though, risky.
it is risky. But I don't know. I just never liked how bulky the other ones were.
The other ones are bulky. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was chatting with uh Anderson Moore, right? The Georgetown goalie. And he's got Nutty Buddy. So like, just the regular Nutty Buddy. But then over top of that, he's got the ice hockey goalies. He's taking no risks out there.
yeah.
Oh, I got a great question that just came to mind. So why do you think there was so many great like this year more than any, I feel like freshmen it was kind of the year of the freshman goalie. Like every year in college lacrosse, like maybe you see one goalie, like
Yeah, one or two.
one or two. I mean, this year there was like four or five goalie freshmen, not only starting but like doing well, right? I mean, yourself
Uh-huh.
included, Fyock, Anderson, right? I mean, why do you think that was? Is it just something to do with your class?
Um, I honestly not really sure, but that's kind of really the first time I've thought about that. That is
Yeah,
pretty crazy. Um, I wouldn't say it's anything kind of class related. I would
okay,
just kind of say everyone really wants to be out there playing, working really hard. Everyone's got a good work ethic.
love it, love it. Well, Patrick, thank you so much, my man. If folks want to get in contact with you, should I send them to your Instagram or what's a good place to
Yeah,
go?
Instagram works great.
Okay, cool. Um, awesome. Well, like I said, good luck in this upcoming season and
Thank you.
pleasure getting to know you and chat with you. If you had to leave the goalies out there with a final piece of advice, what would that be?
Just keep showing up every day with whatever, whether it's practice games or even on your own time. I think a huge part of my success has come from working in my off time, and I think that's kind of the most important thing. You can only do so much in practice. You only practice so many times, especially when you're in high school and in club. You're not practicing as much. So it's just kind of you got to kind of really want it. You got to be able to be willing to go outside on your own time, get a friend, go to a field, take shots, or work on fundamentals, anything like that. You just kind of have to really want it.
Beauty. Patrick, thank you so much.
Awesome, thank you. It was